Hey guys, welcome back to Select Start Fantasy Football. I'm Ace, back at it with Nye from Select Start Fantasy Football Podcast and Manager One. How goes it, Nye?
No, just ready to get into these top 10 running backs.
Yeah, top 10 running backs it is today. It's that time of year when NFL training camps are in full swing, and that means fantasy football season is right around the corner. So, like Nye mentioned, today we're going to give you our top 10 running backs in all fantasy formats headed into the 2021 season. You ready to break it down, Nye?
Let's get it.
All right, let's start at 10. David Montgomery, the dual threat running back, ran for 247 times for just over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. Nye, David Montgomery, number 10. How's that sound to you?
That sounds like a great spot for David Montgomery. And honestly, I feel like he could probably inch up a few more spots, considering some of the news we've heard with certain running backs over the course of this offseason, this training camp. David Montgomery is a prime candidate to fly up draft boards and up fantasy football rankings come the start of the season.
Oh man, I agree, man. His ADP last year was about 63, which is we're looking at third round, second, later second round to early third round type player. I don't anticipate him falling that far this upcoming year, but once we get into the mock drafts, we'll sort that out. At number 9, we've got Antonio Gibson. In his rookie year, he ran for 795 yards, so just below 800 yards. He had 11 touchdowns. Injuries towards the later part of the season, I believe it was an ankle injury, slowed him down a little bit. We got Antonio Gibson at number 9. Nye, how you feel about it?
Man, I love Antonio Gibson's upside this season. He had a phenomenal year last year. I mean, low key, I know he didn't really get a lot of the touches to start early in the season, and a lot of that hype that was generated in the preseason kind of subdued early in the season. But he turned out a fantastic fantasy football season, going over 1,000 total yards and into double-digit touchdowns. I expect that to tick up, quite a lot this year, putting him in that that 8 to 6 range. I feel like he could probably pop and go further, but I feel comfortable placing him right here in this 8, 9, 10 range with tons of upside.
We talk about upside, man. He's one of those sophomore running backs that is really climbing up draft boards right now. I took a little bit of a reach last year. I think I picked him up in the maybe 3rd or 4th round. He did okay for me until the injuries happened. But Antonio Gibson, really looking forward to seeing him perform next year. All right, at number 8, we've got Jonathan Taylor. In his rookie year, he ran for just above 1,000 yards, added 11 touchdowns to it. He was quite the dual threat running back. Coming out of college, he added 8.3 yards per catch. He came on late last year. We saw injuries to their stable of running backs give him more opportunity. He's primed for a bigger role in 2021. Nye, let's break down Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor is, I have him kind of in line like, he finished the season last year. Like, he was a little bit of a slow starter, and then really came on strong late in the season, was a fantasy league winner for a lot of, fantasy managers out there. Losing Quentin Nelson, for the next 5 to 12 weeks isn't going to help, that production from Jonathan Taylor. I think that's one thing you probably want to be a little concerned about. I mean, he's still a fantastic running back. But this situation is going to be, a little different. Losing Carson Wentz for the next 5 to 12 weeks, coincidentally, puts Jonathan Taylor in a situation where, he has Jacob Eason as his starting quarterback. And it could be one of those situations where, he sees a lot of stacked boxes. But I do like the fact that the touches are going to be there. You hope he kind of eats into Nyheim Hines' role as far as, being the passing down back. And you can kind of see that from last year being the case. He's going to be there. He's going to get you 3 or 4 touches a game through the air. So I feel comfortable with Jonathan Taylor at this spot. I think he starts off a little slow, but finishes fast just like he did last year. And he's in line to be a league winner.
Number 7, we got Nick Chubb. Last year, he ran for just above 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. Interesting stat about Nick Chubb. He's ran for 1,000+ yards in each of his first 3 seasons. So, man, he is tried and true. We got Nick Chubb at 7. Nye, break it down.
Yeah, Nick Chubb was on pace to be a 1,400-yard running back possibly a 1,500-yard running back before his injury, sidelined him for a good chunk of the season last year. This is a situation where Cleveland is a running team. The touches are going to be there. This offense is, so run related that, they can essentially, keep the fantasy value of two players upright for an entire season. And Nick Chubb is going to lead the charge for the Cleveland Browns. They want to ground and pound and run the rock all day. He's going to get the touches near the goal line. He is their primary running back. Kareem Hunt does a fantastic job coming in and kind of, giving him a change of pace. But Nick Chubb is the guy through and through. If he can stay healthy, that is the biggest concern. Can he stay healthy for a whole 17 games this year? Which probably won't be the case, but as long as you have him down the stretch, that's ultimately what you want. If he can hit that 14, games played, I think you have a top 5 running back on your hands.
At 6, we got Saquon Barkley. He's coming into the season with a few question marks about his availability for week 1. We certainly know what he brings to the table with over 1,000 yards in his first 2 seasons. Are you kind of skeptic on Saquon, Nye? We have him at 6 because we know what he's capable of. How dependable do you think he is? It's just in the injury and what, the reports we're hearing so far to merit a first round draft grade for him.
Well, this is, it's a tough one. To hear Joe Judge say, they're gonna take it easy with Saquon Barkley and kind of, ramp him up as the season goes along. It doesn't give much confidence to fantasy managers taking him in the first round. I don't think you should take him in the first round, but I've always been the case coming off an ACL with Saquon and now hearing the approach they want to take. Saquon Barkley falls into that back half of that second round, early third round type conversation. Just based on, hey, you know what? How many games is it really going to take Saquon just not to feel healthy, but for them to trust his knee enough to put him in those situations where he's carrying the ball 25, times a game and catching the ball, 7 to 10 times or, whatever, however they want to distribute the ball. But that's really what it comes down to, the confidence of the Giants and how much they're going to put him in position to be Saquon Barkley. I don't think it's going to be all that much early on in the season, especially through the first 8 games. But towards the end of the season, especially if they're in playoff contention, I do see Saquon being, an integral part in fantasy rankings week to week with top 5 finishes.
Man, let's just hope he doesn't quit football before the before the start of the regular season. It seems like New York Giants players are dropping like flies. All right, from one maybe injury-riddled running back to, maybe a barometer of consistency, we got Aaron Jones at 5. Last year, he ran for just above 1,000 yards. He also was a dual-threat running back with 63 targets, 47 of those being receptions. He added a couple touchdowns to go. Last year's ADP was around 16. I'm going to take a wild guess. We'll cut that in half. He'll go in the top 7 this year. 9, Aaron Jones at 5.
Yeah, I think you feel comfortable with Aaron Jones at this spot and probably finishing somewhere near this spot, 5, 6, 7. With Aaron Rodgers coming back, it keeps Aaron Jones's fantasy value where it's at. He was a very productive player last year. You do worry about A.J. Dillon eating into some of those carries. We did see good production out of A.J. Dillon the end of last season. He had some bright spots. Losing Jamal Williams will afford A.J. Dillon, the opportunity to kind of take on that role, but it should cede a little more carries to Aaron Jones, which is a great thing for Aaron Jones owners or prospective Aaron Jones owners. I like Aaron Jones through and through. They're going to be in the red zone a lot. He's going to have ample opportunity to make big plays, considering all the weapons around him. This is a firm lock, in the top 6.
I couldn't agree more. At 4, we got Dalvin Cook. He ran for about 1,500 yards last year, added 16 touchdowns to that. Man, this guy was killing it last year. He had 8+ games with 100+ yards. He averaged about 5 yards per rush. His ADP was about 12 last year. We're going to cut that in half. So I can't really see this guy falling out of top 5. We got Dalvin Cook at 4. How you feel about that, Nye?
Yeah, this is an easy no-brainer. I mean, Dalvin Cook, was the Vikings offense last year. This was the guy who really kind of kept that team afloat with, just what he was doing on the field. Like he just went bananas. Like if not for Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook is, probably the talk of fantasy football, at the running back position. Derrick Henry just went bonkers. But Dalvin Cook, he's going to get you, that 1,400 rushing yards. He's going to give you an impact in the passing game. They love to throw him the ball in the screen game. He's going to get the touches near the goal line. You do kind of worry about, the influx of a Justin Jefferson and how that influences, the want to pass in that offense. But Dalvin Cook is going to be a monster. He's a firm guy inside that top 5. We have him at 4 right now. He probably could be in that top 3, but he's pushing for that top 3 spot. He's pushing for a top 3 spot.
Yeah, he's definitely pushing. He's in elite company nonetheless. All right, we got the man from New Orleans at number 3, Alvin Kamara. He ran for just under 1,000 yards last year, added 16 touchdowns. He had that monster 6-touchdown game against Minnesota last year. He also matched his career high in receptions last year with 83 and targets with 107. Last year's ADP was around 6. I think I'm solid with that. He'll be somewhere in the top 6, easy, if not the top 3. Alvin Kamara at 3. Now I break it down.
Yeah, they're going to need this guy, or especially early on. Whoever ends up winning the quarterback position should lean heavily on Alvin Kamara to start the year. He is their best weapon on offense. As you can see, over 900, almost 1,000 yards rushing and over 750 yards receiving last year with over 20 touchdowns is a ridiculous stat line. Like that is an all-around type guy who can do it a lot of facets. He's someone you should feel extremely comfortable rostering, with your first round pick. If he falls late, it's a travesty. He should be selected in that top 5 easily. He's going to get the touches near the goal line. He's a goal line monster. He's going to get the receptions in the passing game. And he's going to be a factor, in the running game through and through. Man, I love this. I love him at this spot. There are only a few players who are comparable to Alvin Kamara. I think, this is where you see the separation between, these top guys and then maybe like that next echelon of player. Alvin Kamara is definitely one of those guys. If he's sitting on the board in round 1, you snatch him up.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Alvin Kamara at 3 leads us to, that menace, C-Mac. Number 2, fully healthy after missing 13 games last year due to injury. Hey, and he still made his presence known. In 3 games, he had 6 touchdowns in 2020. 3 games. There's more touchdowns than some running backs had in 16. We got C-Mac, the menace, at 2. Now, break it down.
Yeah, this guy averaged 27 fantasy points per game when healthy on the field. Like that's the kind of player you're dealing with right here. Like we understand, like he missed games last year. It was a down year for Christian McCaffrey. But I mean, throw those stats out the window. This guy is arguably my number 1 running back. And I know we can argue all day about number 1, but Christian McCaffrey is my guy. He's gonna, he's a threat to catch 10 plus balls in the passing game. He's a threat to go, the distance on any ball that's handed off to him. He's gonna get touches. Curtis Samuel is now gone. They're trying to replace Curtis Samuel with a few different guys. So the touches are going to be there. His workload shouldn't change. It might not be as heavy as it once was, but Christian McCaffrey is just as effective as making those touches count. And that is all that matters in this situation. That offense is becoming, a better offense with, I feel like, a more stable quarterback situation with Sam Darnold at the controls. Another year in that Joe Brady system. I think the sky's the limit for Christian McCaffrey once again, as being the overall number 1, fantasy football player in all of fantasy.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt what C-Mac brings to the table for your fantasy squads. He's certainly going to be in that top 3 easy. And that leads us to 1, Derrick Henry. You've got to be a freak if you're in this top 5, top 7, and you're not dual threat. He isn't really a threat catching the ball.
No.
But this guy is a monster running the ball. We're talking about 17 rush touchdowns last year. He ran for over 2,000 yards, which is always an incredible feat when an NFL running back runs over
Yeah.
2,000 yards. We're talking about video game numbers here, guys. Last year's ADP was in the top 4. It should be 1 this year. We had 6 games in 2020 with 2 or more touchdowns. Man, this guy was an absolute hog. Derrick Henry at number 1. I'm sure this is unanimous. Nye, break it down.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, you said it, man. Like, there aren't many running backs who are kind of like one-trick ponies who like end up at the top spot in the running back rankings. Usually, you have to be able to do, a multitude of things, especially in the passing game. But Derrick Henry is just a different dude, man. Like, as you said, over 2,000 rushing yards. He had over 15 touchdowns. He's gonna get the touches near the goal line, and then you add in a Julio Jones to balance out that offense, coupled with an AJ Brown. Like, it is going to be insane the amount of attention you're going to have to pay to all those guys on the field. And Derrick Henry, a 2,000-yard rusher, a guy who over the course of the season just seems to get better as guys are getting worn down throughout the year. He just seems to keep moving. He's a beast. He's a titan. Man. Like,
yeah,
it's insane. Like, he is a league winner through and through. This guy, he's going to get, I expect another 2,000 yards. I don't know, with the Texans, I don't know. The Colts are pretty good on defense, but with the Texans and Jaguars both on the schedule, those are 4 games where he can literally go over 200 yards rushing in all 4 of those games, and literally, set his season on track for another 2,000 yards. The 17 touchdowns, total touchdowns, I could see easily being 20 because, he's just a guy down near the goal line you really can't stop. But yeah, Derrick Henry at number 1.1. I can't argue, man.
If I had the number 1 pick, you better believe I'm going with Derrick Henry. And to think that he almost fell to me last year at 12, it's pretty crazy.
That's insane, bro.
Yeah. There you guys have it. That is our top 10 RBs in all fantasy formats head into the 2021 season. I want you guys to keep on your radar for our top 5 risers. We're going to have that coming to you later on this week. We'll also have our top 10 pass catchers that's going to follow that. All the stats mentioned today can be found on the Sleeper mobile app. If you guys haven't subscribed, I would encourage that you guys do so. For more fantasy tips, tricks, and analysis, you better hit that notification bell so you don't miss a drop. For myself and Nye, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Deuces.